If you've ever felt the ouch of a needle but never noticed a mosquito biting you, this episode might blow your mind. This is a real example of biomimicry currently tackling an engineering challenge that affects millions of people worldwide. I'm Pia, and this is Feral by Design. When I was 5 years old, we lived in Papua New Guinea for a while, and whenever we needed injections, the doctors used what I can only describe as horse needles. They were massive, brutal things that felt like tiny swords going into our arms. They hurt like hell. And as kids, we were absolutely terrified of them. When you're 5 and someone comes at you with veterinary equipment, it can leave a mark, physically and psychologically. The upside, however, we were allowed to keep the syringes for water fights, the world's most inappropriate super soakers. Anyway, here's what's wild. Since the 1840s, when the hypodermic needle was invented, the brute force approach hadn't changed. Make a sharp metal tube and force it through the skin. Fun fact, the original was 5 millimetres across. Yes, that's half a centimetre. So 145 years later, still the same design approach into my 5-year-old twig of an arm. Wouldn't mind still having those twigs. Meanwhile, right outside the clinic at the time, mosquitoes were solving the same challenge with finesse. No spears, no brute force, just precision, vibration, and chemistry. So let's get to the gist of how this actually works. This example is copying both form and process. Warning, you may never see mozzies the same way again. Okay, here we go. Only the females bite, bitchy. And her proboscis, or mouthpart, isn't one long puncturing needle. No, sir. This sophisticated engineering feat has 6 precision tools working seamlessly as a team. Imagine. It's like having a microscopic synchronised, Swiss Army knife for a mouth. What the hell? 2 tiny cutting probes with serrated edges like tiny saw teeth on a bread knife, making lots of small cuts instead of one big puncture. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Between them, there's the drinking straw for actual blood sucking. I just channeled my Hannibal Lecter. The whole bundle together vibrates gently as it eases through our skin. And in support, there's chemical warfare in their saliva that numbs you and keeps the blood flowing. And there's also 2 tiny pincers that hold the tissue apart while the rest of the team does its work, shall we say. So quick feral pause here just to bring this to life for our little audio relationship we've got going here. What's invisible to the naked eye and completely undetectable to our naked skin is basically Edward Scissorhands teaming up with a microscopic gynospeculum, I guess, a drinking straw and a built-in numbing cream dispenser. Just giving you a moment to visualise that. You know what? I am absolutely going to Gen AI the hell out of that visual and post it on our socials. You've been warned. Anyway, once you've recovered from that mental image, the result is an otherworldly system that uses dramatically less force than our blunt force trauma horse needles. Now, to be clear, manufacturers have been making needles thinner in recent decades. Higher gauge, finer steel, plastic disposables, all attempts to soften the blow. Eventually, like 160 years after those first needles, someone, a biomimic by any other name, finally asked, what if we could learn from nature and rethink this whole approach? So researchers started to look beyond the spear approach and borrow from the mosquito's design. Enter 2002, the year of the iPod. We're all getting excited about carrying 1,000 songs in our pocket. Meanwhile, in Japan, researchers built the first mosquito-mimicking microneedles. They were jagged, serrated, and vibrating. And in lab tests, these apparently needed only about 1/3 of the force of a typical needle. Amazing. Progressed to 2018, the iPod had come and gone. Engineers at Ohio State found that the mosquito's drinking straw isn't rigid like our needles are. Its flexible tip helps it slip through skin with minimal force. Big aha design distinction there. So building on that, bear with me, they developed a 2-stage microneedle, holding one flexible needle to numb and another to deliver or draw blood. If you've been listening and thinking, nah, I'm tough, I don't care about the needle pinch, here's the bonus twist. This isn't just about comfort. In biopsies, accuracy is everything. Current biopsy needles can shove tissue and sometimes even whole organs around. Who knew? Which means sometimes they miss the target altogether. Mosquito-inspired designs keep tissue steady and improve precision. These breakthroughs, they take time to move from lab to clinic, but at least we're finally on the path. For millions of people living with diabetes and other conditions, and others who need regular injections and blood tests, or even people with needle phobias, and for every kid hiding behind mum at vaccination time. This could be life-changing. Hopefully it won't take another 160 years before painless, precise needles are the norm. Bring it. Next time you have an injection of some kind, remember, what used to be a roar on the pain threshold will one day soon be just a fleeting whisper. Nature figured out painless precision piercing 100 million years ago. We're just finally catching on. Today's episode brought to you by the mighty Mozzie Menace. So when that next Mozzie comes to suck on your lifeline, whisper a quick thanks. A thanks, but no thanks. Then give it the smack it deserves. See you next week.